August, we told you Misfit Athletics would address the situation regarding the new qualification rules for regionals. They've cut each region down significantly. Most regions will only be accepting the top 20, maybe the top 30 in some regions, but significantly less than we've seen in the past. Before people start to panic and feel like their regional hopes and dreams are over with these new combined super regionals, I just want to point out a couple of the numbers to prove that it's still possible to make it. Those guys that finish near the bottom of regionals are on the bubble of qualifying. It doesn't mean that you can't make it now. They only take 20. It just means you have to kind of get your training right and come out a little harder. I just want to go over some numbers that'll kind of prove that it's still in the realm of possibility for you to do it. So, 2014 Open, what I did was I looked at a lot of the way that the WODs finished. Total overall points that got most people to regionals, about 53rd position would qualify you in your region because some people went team, some people dropped out, but about 53rd would get you a spot at regionals. On average across all 17 regions, 500 points got you to regionals. 500 points or less overall through all 5 workouts would qualify you for regionals, and that's on average across all 17 regions. To finish in the top 20 in the Open to qualify for your regional, about 258 points or better got you to top 20, and that's that spot that we're looking to get this year. Of course, the competition is going to get a lot stiffer, and this is an average again, so some regions would be a lot fewer points to get in the 20s, and there were some regions, I think the Northeast was one of them, that was near 400 points, or it was over 300 was in the top 20s, and about 600 and change would still qualify you. So depending on region to region and the depth of that region, that matters a lot too. And this is based on male numbers, not female numbers. So we break it down. If 100 points per each workout got you to regionals, it's about 50 points now will get you that top 20 spot this year. And just quick breakdown of the WODs. The first WOD, top 20 score, 50 points or less, was a 369. To the top 100, which would get you that qualifying spot last year, was a 352. And you see the difference in finishing in a place that would get you those points you need to get in the top 20 is only 4.6% difference. So less than 5% total work would actually move you up to a top 20 spot. Same thing goes WOD 2, 234 reps for a 50th or better, 212 for 100th or better, on average across all regions, less than 10%. Third workout, this was the deadlift workout that was very tight, very close, a couple reps separated everybody, 149 and 145, so you have less than 3% difference. A couple reps of deadlift means the difference between you guys going last year, and especially it'll be even less to separate people if a workout like this comes up this year. WOD 4, the chipper, 207, 197, less than 5%, and this is broken down into seconds, so 664 seconds, 699 seconds, or 1104 and 1139, 5% difference. So you see, if you take your training up to a different level, the gaps are very small that you need to close. So you not only need to get better with the people that beat you last year, but you just have to kind of progress a little faster than them as well. And we'll talk about how we can do that with our wonderful panel. So Nathan, you're about the smartest guy I know, all right? Do you think this is a good or a negative change on the sport as far as qualifying goes? Do you think it's going to help find the fittest person, or do you think it's going to hurt because it's going to exclude more people?
Yeah, so I think obviously the new setup with the super regionals is good for a few things. You got the scale division, which is good to include everyone, but like you're saying, more importantly, for the sport itself, it's going to do a better job of finding the fittest. It's going to have better competition at the so-called super regionals, so it's going to draw more interest from the fans. It's going to be a better sport event. It's going to be better competition. The Open itself will be more intense, but it also will have you have more intense training and seasons and just dedication for the athletes themselves throughout the year. So they'll become, I think, in a lot of CrossFitters and other athletes' minds, real athletes more of a sport that takes a lot of dedication and training for a very specific and very high-level goal.
So you think that maybe the guys that are going to be able to qualify now are going to have to be at such an elite level that there won't be room for like one affiliate like superhero that goes out there. It's going to have to be more pro athlete style qualifiers than anything else as far as the sport goes?
Yeah, definitely. You have to have high-level athletes who are committed in many aspects, if not all aspects of their training, diet, lifestyle to just qualify.
Okay. Matt, so you qualified this year, but you finished outside the top 20, so you wouldn't have had a spot if the rules were that way last year. Do you agree with what he's saying? Do you think it was good, or?
I don't know if eliminating the field is a good thing, just because there's certain people who finished in the mid to bottom half of their region in the open that may have done really well at regionals, like Cody Anderson, who did really, really well at the games.
I think there was 4 guys that made the games that would not have.
So I guess it's not a huge field, but there definitely are a few people that got excluded as a result. So there is definitely benefits of it. Unfortunately, it sucks for me, but in terms of finding the fittest on earth, I think it will do a fine job, just as before when it used to be 60 people for regionals. I mean, Rich Froning still won, so the top person still wins the games each year.
But you look at that board and you see how little you know these movements, you know it's extra double unders or a couple of extra deadlifts makes that change. After seeing that, does that help you mentally?
I mean, the gap is definitely not as great as I thought it was after seeing the numbers. I mean, I was just talking to Seth before it, and most of my numbers are pretty close to that top 50-point mark for all those workouts, except for a couple of them. I think 2 of them I didn't get there, but for the most part, it's a pretty small discrepancy. I mean, 5% is not that much. I mean, rest for 10 seconds less than 3 of the workouts, you had those reps and you made up that score. And I mean, that's what CrossFit's all about. It's work to rest. So
Right.
I definitely think mentally, though, it's going to be a little bit more taxing. Because I know, like, last year I took a pretty big hit during the deadlift workout. And, like, mentally, like, I talked to Drew and Seth after, and they're like, no, you can still climb your way back up in. But, like, this coming year, if it's going to be like this, there's no, if you take a pretty big hit on a workout, there's not that coming back. So mentally, I think preparing for workout and during the workout, it's going to be a little bit harder. There's going to be those times where you really want to quit and you might want to take a step back, but you're not going to be able to, because it's going to be, I think you're going to see a lot more workouts become like the deadlift, and it's just going to be a lot closer. So like you guys said, like every rep is really going to count, I think, now that you're talking about the top 20.
So you bring up a good point. Joe's kind of one of those one and done kind of athletes. He likes to hit it once, be done, confident with his score. Do you think one and done is a thing of the past because the field is so tight? If you have an opportunity to improve, that you have to take that opportunity?
I think if you honestly think you can improve by a couple reps, like the board shows, it's not many reps that makes up that, those extra points that you need. So I think if you can honestly assess that you can make up extra reps, that, doing a workout twice will definitely, if it assures that you go to regionals, that's what you're gonna have to do.
Do you try again anyway, even if you think you gave 100%, like, I'm not sure I have anything left in the tank? Do you try it again in the last minute anyway, just because you don't want to miss out by a rep or 2 from one workout?
I think so. I think I think if Sunday rolls around and you're fresh enough to go again, and and you kind of take stock of where you're at, that it's worth giving it that extra shot, because even a rep, 2 reps, that's points that you're leaving on the table.
Okay.
Even if you go 100%, or you think you gave it 100% in every workout, there's always something you could change somewhere in the workout, and maybe add a rep or 2.
There's always a different strategy to it.
Exactly.
Like something that you maybe you broke up something and
redoing
then
helps a lot.
Don't,
It changes everything.
Okay. Will anyone here prepare differently this year for the change as far as programming goes, even diet, sleep, mental preparation? Will anybody be making a significant change because they think that it is completely necessary to make that change to compete at that level?
I'm dropping down to 205 pounds as opposed to 220 pounds. I have a training partner this year, and I'm following a program. A whole bunch of different stuff. Everything's changed.
Okay.
as opposed to no diet, no program, and no training partner.
It's more fun though.
It's a lot more fun.
So, but as far as the sport goes, like, I still believe, even though this gives an opportunity, especially with the way they played with workouts in the team series, filming lifts and other things like that, that this new kind of RX and scaled open opens up the door for multiple parts to 1 week's workout, a lift as part of a workout, things like that. Do you think that will change the way that you approach things?
Be closer. It'd be nice to see a regional format that's closer, or open format that's closer to the regionals, where not really this year so much, but a couple of years back when they had to do 115-pound deadlifts, and then they go to regionals and they're 315-pound deadlifts. So I think sometimes it catered to the smaller athlete. I mean, everyone always says that it's the fittest still get to the game, so
It's
that's
weird
matter,
it's
but-
weird how the same guy wins all 3 workouts though, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it is the way it is, but I think it'd be nice to see some more of the things that you see at regionals, like, I don't know, for example, a 225-pound hang clean, something that wasn't outrageous a couple of years ago could be in the open the way that things are this year, so.
Pretty nice.
I think we're going to see that too, because they are also opening the scale division too for the open. So I think that will give them the opportunity to throw some more high-level skill movements, more heavier barbell movements into the open.
Where did you finish in the open last year? What place?
17th.
Okay, so you're right on that bubble. I think you and Joe were both right on
19.
that bubble, right? So high teens. What have you done this year to make sure? I guess a lot of guys at your level, both your levels, you know that from past experience, the open is something you don't have to do a ton of extra prep for. You know that you're going to get one of those top 48 scores in the past. So you're thinking ahead towards regionals. Is the fact that qualifying is no longer a walk in the park, even for guys like you, is this changing the way you're going to approach your training leading up to the open in your mental game going into the open, as opposed to taking sort of a lackadaisical approach, now treating it more serious? Are you guys going to change anything you do to prep for that?
I think what this demands is that you shore up all your weaknesses, because you can't have that blow-up workout. You know, you can't have that blow-up workout and then hope to take a top 10 the next week and erase that 100th place score. So you got to shore up all your weaknesses and make sure that every week you could throw a very competitive score up there. So if it's, like last year, I kind of bombed out on the deadlift workout. So if it's high rep deadlifts at heavier weight, that's something I got to work on. That can't be a weakness anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing happened for me. I got crushed in the deadlift workout. And it's just, if a workout like that happens again and I'm going to get a ridiculous amount of points, I might not be in that 17th, I might be that 21st guy.
Right.
So everything's going to count in this off season. From last off season, I took it a lot more lackadaisical, knowing that I could prep through the open when I moved up here, but now when that open comes around, you have to be ready from week 1, day 1, because like we all know, we all hear those horror stories of, if I got one more pull-up in the overhead squat chest to bar workout, I would have another 2 minutes of work or 3 minutes of work, and you're not going to get that shot this year.
Okay.
I think that brings up a good point too, because in the past you could sort of, I don't want to say specialize, but get ready for the open a certain way and then get heavy for regionals. I think we're going to have to take almost an approach at a regional level type heavy volume approach just for the open. And even that we're talking about doing the open WODs like multiple times in that 4 or 5 day span, to train to do that, to do maybe the same workout sometimes in prep beforehand multiple times, just a few days apart, or a couple workouts that are all out intensity, and then recover and see how you react.
Now, Alec, you had an injury last year finishing up the open, right? So you had a tough finish. How are you going to change the way you prepare this year to, one, stay injury-free, and two, make that push to top 20? Have you ever finished top 20 in your region going into regionals?
Yeah, 2 years ago I was 8th, I believe.
So 2 years ago we have an 8th place finish, and then unfortunate injury. This year, how are you going to prep to get back to one of those top 20 finishes?
It's going to be hard. Take it easy a couple of days before you have to do that open workout. Last year I kind of would work out hard before I had to do the open workout, because I thought
Same
it was
day?
going to be, yeah, not the same day, like the day before.
Okay.
So that was going to be a little bit easier to make regionals. But you're just going to have to play it smart, I think, this year, and kind of make that workout your whole week. spend the whole week focusing on that one workout.
And that's a good point, because one thing that Drew and I always harp on, especially with a lot of the guys in this group, a lot of these guys had almost walk-in spots to regionals. We were supremely confident that they were going to get a spot, and we were talking about, just do your workout, treat it like another workout, and forget about it and prep for regionals. And that sort of was our focus in the past. Now we have to kind of be on top of them more, and we'll have to look at the way we program for the week of that open workout to give them the best opportunity that they can have to do the best they can, to have as many shots as they can on it, while still not being overly obsessed with it and putting regionals completely behind them. Because it's great you make it to regionals, but a lot of these guys actually have realistic opportunities to go to the game. So how do you think that you're going to change the way you look at programming during the open?
During the open, it's one of those things where I feel like it's sort of like training an athlete for a specific sport. You really work on weaknesses, you really go down to bare bones at the start of the year, and then you really try to work your way back towards that sport. So once the open rolls around, it's really going to be a lot of movement patterns of movements that you see in the open, and not necessarily quite as much. You won't see as much back squat, or you won't see as much strict press or push press, things of that nature. Obviously, the more you can clean up movements if you've built that base is a big part. So I feel like writing the program to make sure that people are doing the movements and going through the movement patterns and feeling really comfortable with a lot of different things is a huge part of it.
And as far as providing opportunities to redo it, as a coach, when would you say, all right, enough's enough, this is your 5th time trying this workout because you think you can squeak out one extra chest to bar? When, what would tip the scales for you to cut somebody off?
I think it's person to person. I saw it happen a few times last year, especially with like the chest to bar workout. People would get that first wind and start flying around on the bar, and then you could just see it deteriorating in that workout. You could see that they weren't going to beat their score. They're still going for it. This is either the 2nd or the 3rd time.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's blood pouring out of the hands.
Sure.
As a coach, it's really time to call that quits. Now, we're working with athletes on a very wide spectrum, through the website, and I'm probably going to tell someone like Joe to call it quits before, like what Matt's situation was last year. Matt had a very strong determination towards that goal of going to regionals. That was his goal. It wasn't going to the CrossFit Games. It wasn't this. It wasn't that.
Right.
It was, I want to go to regionals. And I watched him work way too hard to not, let him try to get it. So I think it does depend on the athlete, but as a coach, you can always see it. You can always see it. And you have to, at a certain point, just say, enough is enough. We're starting this workout for a 3rd time now. You did it 5 minutes ago. It's probably not a very good idea to do it again.
And one last thing. So mentally, how do you guys keep yourself in this? Because it's really easy. I think one of the things we all heard probably really quickly on social media was guys say, oh, I guess I'm going team this year. Oh, I'm going team this year. And not really take into account the fact that so many of those guys that would have had that 21 to 48 slot that don't get to go to regionals are also going to automatically go on a team if they don't qualify. So as far as not giving up and just saying, well, I'm just going to contribute to my team because I have no chance, if you are one of those guys on the bubble, what would be your advice to somebody to kind of stay positive or stay in the game and give themselves a shot to, maybe get one of those top 20 spots, or at least work hard enough to contribute more than they thought they could to a
The evidence is on that board you just presented. I mean, it's such a small difference between getting 53rd place and 20th place in a workout. It's very small, and I mean, if you just pack it up now, I mean, what's the point point, I mean, you worked all year, you're going to pack it in now. If you really think you have a realistic shot and you want to put the work in, it's up to you to decide whether or not you're going to make it there. So for someone like me who was 33rd or 4th or 5th, I don't know where I finished at regionals, I think I finished one place worse in the open. It's just whether or not you want to put the work in. It's really up to you. I mean, if you think that's a realistic goal, I mean, going up, 14 spaces isn't too much work, and if I'm sure we did the math out, it probably is about 5, 6, 7%, which is one less water break or 5 more pull-ups in a workout. So
Better not be taking a water break in a workout.
I like water.
Cam, do you think that if somebody is kind of resigned to going team right out of the gate because they're not confident with the new system, do you think that's going to immediately impact the scores they put up, or do you think someone will be able to put up the same scores anyway?
I think they won't try as hard because they'll like if they get tired in the workout, they can be like, well, I'm going team, so I don't have to go as hard as I normally would. So yeah, I think if you go into it with like a bad mindset, as soon as you get tired, you're going to make excuses and be like, well, I'm doing team, so I don't have to go as hard. So yeah, it'll pretty big difference.
I think the one thing that people lose sight of because of all the scoreboard watching and all the scoreboard games that everyone plays is that you control your own destiny, and I can't control what any of these guys do week to week. You can only put down the best score you can, and at the end of the day, that's gotta stand up, and you can't wait and see what other people are gonna do and have that determine where you're gonna finish.
I think you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Anyone else have last words for people who are nervous about the new season?
Well, Jordan, you were 21st?
19th.
In the Open?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're right on that bubble. You came in first place at regionals. You're a prime example of what can turn around in a short period of time. The movements change a little bit, that kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Shaved it,
I
actually.
shaved it for regional, so there you go. The best thing I can say is stick to the program and put the work in. I mean, see what you got. I mean, that's the best thing. Like I said, I didn't really change it. I stuck to everything I did, and I tried not to get ahead of myself. I mean, I wrote down one goal. I said, make regionals. I want to make regionals. So I put everything into making regionals, trained hard, and it worked out, and then I upped the goal. So, I mean, just stay focused on the task at hand, and, put your best score up there, like, Joe said.
And like you said, stick to the programming. The sport has not changed at all. The sport is still exactly the same sport it's always been. It just fewer people get to make the cut now to go to that next round. So, for me personally as a coach, the big thing I would say is don't start changing your program. Don't start making these big kind of leaps of faith, these false promises that other athletes, other coaches are making you to get you that level. Just keep sticking to what's working. If you're progressing, keep fighting through it. Keep making that progress, because the sport is not changing. It evolves, but it doesn't change. Just the amount of people going to the next level is going to change. So,
just one thing to add. Seth and I, we work our tail off to get you guys ready, but once the season rolls around, specifically during the Open, at regionals, at the CrossFit Games, a lot of our work has to do with what's going on between the years. A lot of it's a psychological coaching, trying to manage all that stuff. And I dealt with some athletes that had some really big ups and downs last year mentally. And a happy, healthy, confident athlete is a very dangerous person. I think it's worth more than 5%. I think it could be worth 15%. Watching Joe specifically when he's stressed out, he's not the same athlete in any way, shape, or form. Matt was all in, everything he had. And then once regionals training came around, I think once the goal had already been met, it was a different psychological state for you, and that training was a little bit harder for you. Because you were like the tough guy leading up to the Open, really getting the group together and everything like that, and then that kind of changed. And then Joe was able to kind of turn the mental side around and have a lot of fun. And he basically put a season's worth of training between the Open and regionals and made a run at the CrossFit Games, and one of the most competitive regions in the world. So whatever you got to do, sleep more, make sure your relationships in your life are good, eat better, whatever it is. That mental aspect of it can and will change that percentage more than what's written on that board. I think it's huge. So.
Well, if you guys have any other specific questions for us, just put them in the comments on the blog, and we will try to answer them next time we do a Misfit question and answers piece. So with that, thanks for checking us out.